But obviously, my mind was just going like, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? And how did it happen? And what could I have done differently? Or what could have happened that didn't happen? The Russians are still messing with our democracy. On Russia, on suppression of voters, particularly African-American and young voters, and sexism and misogyny, which are endemic in our system, and we ought to start talking about it. I would have won but for Jim Comey's letter.
But also these forces at work during the election and still at work when you think about Russia and other places. What about endemic sexism and misogyny, not just in politics, but in our society? What about the unprecedented action of the FBI director? What about the interference by an adversary nation to determine or tilt the outcome of our election? What about voter suppression?
In a pie chart.
Right.
What's the biggest chunk? What's the biggest cause of your loss? What part is
Right.
Comey? What part's Russia? What part's you?
Well, I think the determining factor was the intervention by Comey on October 28th. I was just dumbfounded. I thought, what is he doing? The investigation was closed. I know there's no new information. I've certainly given everything of any relevance to them.
Another area where you seem to come close to drawing a conclusion, but you stop just at the line is Russia.
Right.
You say there's so many coincidences, so many connections between people in the Trump campaign and Russia, but you stop short of saying this, and I'm asking you if you will. Do you think that the Trump campaign, with the knowledge of the now president, colluded with Russia and stole this election?
Matt, I can't say that. There was certainly, we know, a plan from Putin and the highest levels of the Kremlin to influence our election. We now know that it was everything from Facebook ads and phony people acting like Americans who were Russian. It was a lot of interesting coincidences, if you will. The Russians hacked those emails.
This country did elect an African-American president twice. Do you think it's harder for Americans to elect a woman than it is an African-American man?
I think there's a lot of evidence, a lot of research supporting the idea that race is a much more motivating factor for voters than gender is. The more professionally successful a man becomes, the more likable he is. The more professionally successful a woman becomes, the less likable she is. But when a woman walks into the arena and says, I'm going for this myself, it really does have a dramatic effect on how people perceive.
Trying to come to terms with this idea that there are a lot of people in this country who simply don't like you, not for political reasons, but it seems more personal reasons.